This is a very special episode that we've been asked about a couple times, and I'm really excited that we could finally make it work. We've been doing a panel in the convention circuit for the past, I think the first one was maybe 2 years ago. It's called Building Your Own Themyscira, Networking in Your Niche, and it's about building community and networking with other nerdy businesses and brands. And we have a rotating cast of people who, depending on what convention it is, we have different groups of people talking. And we finally were able to record it at San Diego Comic-Con this year. So this is a recording of the panel that we did. We had a couple of recording issues when we were first getting started. So an amazing tech person came in midway through the intros and set up our mic correctly. And so the rest of it sounds amazing, but we are missing like the intro to the panel and the intro to some of our guests. I think the recording picks up when Robyn is introducing herself. So because that's missing, I'm going to give that to you now. So yes, the panel is about networking and building community and making connections and our best tips and tricks for making that happen. Jordan Ellis of Jordandené, am moderating, and we had 5 incredible guests who actually we have interviewed each of them separately in other episodes. So if there's anyone that you particularly want to hear more from, you can scroll back through our archives and check them out. But to complete the intros that got a little bit cut out, so Robyn Warren is the owner of Geek Girl Strong. You can find her at Geek Girl Strong all over the internet. Rose Del Vecchio is the co-founder of Fan Mailbox and Charmed Box of Shadows. So you can find her at Fan Mailbox and at Box of Shadows. Grayson is a writer, filmmaker, and creator of Magic Hour, which is her latest project. So you can find her at Che in Wonderland and at Magic Hour TV. Jazzlyn Stone is the former COO of Bombsheller and all-around incredible lady. You can find her at Jazzlyn Stone. And then Taylor Deatherage is the owner and designer at LoganArch. She's the convention manager for Chicago TARDIS, and she also does geeky fashion on her account at They Seek Her There. And she's also at LoganArch Chicago. So we're really, really excited to finally be able to release this for those who have never been able to make it to see us in person, or if you were there and you really liked the info, you can listen again or take notes. And we hope to keep doing this panel at conventions, so if you ever see this on the schedule, please come say hi in person. So enjoy.
I was a family planning health educator for a nonprofit health clinic for a year and a half in between the time that I was working full-time for the city, and I am now, for about a year, full-time with Geek Girl Strong.
So I have my bachelor's of arts in anthropology and psychology. I have my master's in something called higher education and student affairs administration, which is basically anything outside of academics at a college or university. Specifically, I focused in wellness promotion, so I'm technically also a health educator with a different type of degree. I currently burned out in a fiery flame as a young professional about 3 months ago, and now I'm working on fan mail full-time, as well as working as a floor leader at Lush Cosmetics at the local mall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lush.
Yeah.
I studied English and media studies in undergrad and actually went straight to film school to study writing and directing at NYU, which I just recently graduated, thank God.
Yeah, congrats. That was recent.
During my time in film school, I actually started self-publishing comics because I realized I still had an itch for visual storytelling, but making films are really expensive. And since I'm a nerd, I figured I'd try another visual medium. Started self-publishing my comics, and then started getting into anthologies, and now I'm on my first series, and things are growing from there. So balancing the film industry, film and TV industry, and the comics industry, while they overlap in a very beautiful way, they also still have like their own parameters and gatekeeping. So it's kind of interesting straddling both.
I did not go to college. I technically went to college for I went to community college for like a week. And then they were like, you got to pay. And I was like, carry your textbooks back. Thank you for your time. Yeah, I learned a lot about women's studies. But yeah, I just grew up poor. And so Bombsheller was like a startup. And when you grow up poor, you learn how to build community. You learn how to squeeze a nickel. You learn all these like cute things like bootstrapping, which just means that you're cash poor. So if you also grew up poor, I would consider going into startups because they love it. They're like, oh, you're so like agile and you can turn on a dime, and you're like, yeah. So that is my background, education.
I was a social worker for an agency in Chicago, and I worked in a school, and I also burnt out, as Robyn and Rose were saying. I really liked my job though, and one of the core things that I used to do was I used to organize programs, like administration programs for students. So we would go into schools and we would build like a summer camp, and I used to do that. Then that translated to me doing event planning as a person, which I do now full-time. I wanted to do something creative. I was always making things. I'm a cosplayer. I love styling nerdy outfits, and I wanted to do something design-based that I had never had a chance to do. So when I left that career, I went to the company I work for now, and I've been able to do marketing. I've been able to explore design in my own business, which is taking off really well. And I feel very, very grateful that that's been something that I've been able to do in my life.
This will be the last, like, everyone answers question. But so this panel is about networking and building community. And I know, because I know all of you, like, how important that has been to each of you, which is why I asked you to be here. But I've also realized that, like, to me, that's kind of a given because that's what I know how to do. But, like, not every business focuses on that or, like, places it at high importance. So either, like, why is community important to your business? Or if you have, like, an example of a time, like, something really cool that you were able to do because of your network or because of your community. Because, yeah, for anyone who, like, doesn't realize how important and valuable it actually can be, you can go in order or not. It doesn't matter. I don't know if you want to start.
Well, Geek Girl Strong wasn't originally going to be a community. It was the community that made it a community. They kind of took it and ran with it and ran with the name themselves. And whenever someone meets me and they're like, "You're Geek Girl Strong," I'm like, "No, I'm just the head, like I'm the face, but I am not Geek Girl Strong. My name is Robyn." But the people themselves made it into a wellness community and made it something really special that I would have never been able to do on my own. So literally my business would have been nothing without the community of people in it.
I think I agree. So I run a subscription box service, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a community, but a lot of what I see and what I noticed in subscription boxes that I liked was that you were always unboxing at the same time, you were figuring out what everybody got at the same time, and so we kind of built our model after that, but it's been incredible because it's really tied that fandom thing to what I do, and so I was telling Robyn and a couple other people on this panel earlier, I had 2 people talk to me this weekend who told me that Charm saved their life, and that has nothing to do with me. I just happen to be a Charmed licensee, and I'm bringing Charmed back after, not having merch for a really long time, so it just felt very special to know that someone thought that I had that impact when it wasn't me at all. It was definitely them, and but then we've got a connection.
That's cool.
Yeah.
For me, community is pivotal to what I do because filmmaking and comics are collaborative in nature. For me, when I first started getting into comics, what I went to is the community of your local comic book shop, and asking, like, what should I read? I really want to get into this medium. And also Geek Girl Brunch, which is how I met a lot of these wonderful ladies up here. Just getting a community of people who not only share the same love of fandoms and stories, but also my main target audience. And so for me, the community of actual cons have actually been what have gotten me gigs, is constantly showing up, constantly letting people know who I am, that I know who they are, not just, the Twitter friendship, but like making it IRL, and really just forming a community of people who are like, oh, I heard of like this person is looking for a writer, or this person is looking for this, and connecting the dots. And I think that, community is the only way we're able to kind of thrive when we're working in the way that we are.
Yeah, totally. I think there is nothing that I've ever achieved career-wise in my own life that hasn't been because of community. There is nothing that I've ever screwed up or failed at that I didn't have somebody like my community there to help me, to support me. So no person is an island and no business is an island. And if you try to become one, if you try to just like run to the finish line, then it's going to be incredibly lonely and you're not going to make it. And then no one's going to be there to pick you up.
Yeah.
So community is like, I was struck just now, like, oh, it's everything. Yeah.
Panel's done. That's all you needed to know. Thank you, Jazzlyn.
Pen drop.
Pen drop. Coming from my social work background, working in the community was always something that was given to, like, I had to do anyway. When I got into the industry that I work in now, I've met all these awesome people up here, and this is a very different corner than some of what I usually encounter. And I don't want to sound harsh, I just want to be honest. When you do certain things like, okay, I'm going to talk about Doctor Who. So Jodie Whittaker, right, when she became the Doctor, there was like some crazy backlash from certain people. That's very common. I encounter that a lot. And I've had people look at me and say stuff like, well, the Doctor Who fandom isn't diverse, and it makes me angry. And that's the kind of thing that I've tried to use my abilities to do this to open up our staff. Like, our convention is fan run, so it's got a great group of people running it. But, bringing that forward and saying, listen, guys, we really have to represent more people. We have to bring this community in. That's something that I'm not saying I've done that, but I think there's a community facilitation of that is very, very important when you run into those corners of fandom that we're still trying to discuss things in those problematic areas and just like open them up and say, what are we doing here? Everybody deserves a place and everybody deserves to be there. So I guess that's how community to me means in this industry.
And to add to kind of what Jazz was saying, something that's really important to me is I talk about this so often with my friends, is the idea of the Highlander syndrome, and folks who really are just okay going through the door, shattering the glass ceiling, and like making another ceiling or closing the door behind them. And just to kind of emphasize what Jazzlyn said, it's like if you want to just make it on your own, just imagine getting at the top of the mountain. If you fall down, there's no one who can, like, you're just falling all the way down and you're starting up again. There's no one that's going to lend you a lifeline if you don't bring anyone up with you. So it's like, would you climb Kilimanjaro by yourself? Like, is that really a good idea? And so, what's beautiful about, the kind of Themyscira message is that it's like the antithesis of the Highlander. And it's that idea that we can all lift each other up together, and while it might take a little longer, it's more powerful.
I feel like this is a good time to, we have one in like illustration, or what's the right word? I don't know. There's a thing.
Visual?
That's our favorite. Visual.
Yeah.
That's our favorite on this panel. This seems like a good
Is it the
time.
hand one?
Word.
I guess it's not technically a metaphor.
It's been
It's
a
not.
long
It's been a long con. It's
week of 2 days so far.
Past 6 o'clock.
No one knows.
So something that I've shared on this panel in the past is the idea of walking with one hand open in order to open doors in front of you and one hand behind you to hold the hand of the person who's coming up behind you and bring them through the door with you. And if each person continues to do that, we just not like us, but like the other way, going forward. You just hold hands and bring one another through these doors and try your best. You might not be able to hold everyone's hand, but if each one holds another one's hand, eventually your entire community. It's kind of like the Wu-Tang Clan. Like, one of them made it, and then they were like, but everybody's coming with me. So be like Wu-Tang.
Good life advice.
New tagline.
Jazzlyn, Bombsheller did something that I think, especially as a small business, was one of the coolest ways to connect. Because sometimes it's hard to connect from like behind the website, especially to actual humans who are shopping with you. You guys have these fit parties, which was so inspiring to me. I think it's incredible. And would you talk about that? Like what that is and like why you did it and what it let you guys do?
Yeah. I mean, like looking back, it's like, oh, like we were really like on the forefront of something, but really we were just like, we need help and ego death and help us, please. And so, so Bombsheller it still has. So Bombsheller is a legging company. We recently just restructured and went into private manufacturing. So we just do private label, which there are actually quite a few of them out on the floor. So Bombsheller Manufacturing. But they offer print on demand to change the way that clothing is manufactured, but it's also high quality. So you're not like just buying a bunch of like $20 leggings that break after a few days. You have to buy another one. That's very wasteful. And they go from extra small through 6X. So we initially launched with extra small through XL, and because we tested on real people, like we had people in Seattle come to fit parties, they try them on, give us feedback, we change it, and then when they were like, this is perfect, we launched our first 10 sizes. After that, people were like, hey, I'd love to wear these, but I'm like a 2X, can you extend your sizing? And we were like, we would love to, but we need people to come try them on. So then we started throwing these like extended sizing fit parties where people would very graciously come, try them on, tell us what worked, what didn't, and because not every body is the same, and you cannot, no matter how much a manufacturer out there tells you, you cannot just take extra small and then just like add 2 inches for every size, because turns out people don't size up like that because we're all humans with bodies and they're all different and beautiful and yada yada. So it's like you gotta make it work, and you have to like test it on real people. And so so we threw these fit parties for like a year, got to a place, launched it. And then after that, like people would come in, they'd be like, oh, well, who tried this on? And we're like, oh, we tested on real people, so they'd be more willing to try it on. And then like so many people were like, I've never felt so beautiful, I've never felt so sexy, I've never felt so comfortable. Like, and it was because we worked with our community to give them something that they actually wanted.
I think that's so cool. Like that was one of my favorite ways to connect with your actual customers. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and also to be fair, like it was because our fans were like, love your designs, wish I could wear them. And we were like, want to work with us? And they were like, hell yeah. And so it was like one of them asking politely, but asking for something, and us like responding and being like, yeah, like whatever you need, like let's do it if we can.
Yeah. I found, so like the 2 big communities that I really needed in order to like actually move somewhere were 1, the community with customers, and then 2, the community with peers and other businesses. And something that Rose Fan Mail does super well is in each of your boxes, it's at least one other small business. So like, can you talk a little about that? Like one, like how you even, because small businesses sometimes are hard to find because we're small. So like it actually takes work. You can't just like
emails, and we can't be like, hey.
Yeah, you can't just Google like cool small business nerdy and like find everything. Maybe you can sometimes.
You might be able to now.
That's true. That's
You
true.
might be able to now.
But 5 years ago, Etsy was the place. Right?
Yeah.
So a
Yeah,
lot of
true.
our first products, like our first box, we had a Sorcerer's Stone soap that I found on Etsy. And that person was like, wait, what? You want me to make hundreds? And I was like, yes, please. Let me pay you to make hundreds. And so I think a lot of it has been through social media. A lot of it has been through conventions. And finding people who I walk the floor, like not here as much, but smaller conventions, I walk the floor a lot, especially Artist Alley. I collect business cards. I've got a whole big box of them that someday will become hopefully a digital Rolodex, because I don't want it to be a physical one. So we've worked with 100, and I think we're up to 120 something small businesses over the last 4 years. And sometimes when I work with authors, it's really fun, or publishers. I go to the creator that I'm co-curating with, and I say, who are the businesses you're spending money on right now? Who would you like to spend some money on right now, since I'm footing the bill? And then we go and we work with them to make something new and something special, and it's a lot of fun.
And you also do an amazing job, which like you don't have to do. Like not everyone takes this extra step, but in each of your boxes you have like a flyer or menu or what do you call it?
We have a little booklet.
Yeah.
So in fan mail it was like a forecasting of like what's cool, what's coming up. So I would add like small indie stuff that I knew that people wouldn't have heard of, along with, you know, like the big Marvel comics that are coming out and the movies and stuff. And that's kind of transitioned also to include, you know, the social media of the people that we include, a coupon code to get them to buy from them again, and hopefully provide them with like a little bit more than just the initial wholesale order. Like we want them to gain followers from it too.
And that extra bit of like giving credit, I feel like is a part of like actually building community and being trusted and being a part of it that people miss a lot. Yeah. Like just that extra little bit of like, and please follow this person, or and please, this person took my photos, this person made this thing. I think that is awesome. And Che, now that you're doing video stuff too, that's even another level, but even doing comics, because you aren't doing all the parts, you're doing the writing part, but like, that's a lot of networking and like meeting publishers and artists and writer, like, how does that work for you? Because that's keeping track of like a million different networks at once. Is it just like meet everyone all the time? Or?
Yeah, it's really interesting. For me, I know like I have things to pitch. I have jobs that I want to try and get. But when I come to cons, I come to make the connections first. And I say, if I can hit it off with someone enough that they will give me their card, then I will follow up with them and the pitches will happen from there. So I think what you really want to do is be just be very precious of your time and your energy and other people's time and energy. And so you know that they've probably had unsolicited pitches thrown at them or been invited to dinner by a friend who's like, actually, I just wanted you to put me on. And so it's really just about, one, knowing who's coming. So knowing like who you secretly want to meet, and then spending literally most of the time even getting up the courage to like go up to that person because you're like, oh my God, you're so cool. Like what's really interesting about the fandom and geek community is that we have this kind of, it's not really imposter syndrome, but it's this thing where it's like, they're so cool, they don't know who I am, so I don't want to bother them, and the other person is saying the same thing.
All the time.
It's this weird thing
all
where
the time.
It's like, hello? I am, I exist to you too. Oh my God. Yeah. So it's like knowing, you know, who are the artists, who are the other writers, who are the publishers, and then, you know, this is my third year here. I started off my first San Diego not knowing anyone and not really doing much business or networking at all. And then the second year, I had my one friend who I was like, this is who I'm going to stick with. And I know that I will just be their shadow, and they will say, hi, this is Che, hi, this is Che. And that's, for us who are kind of naturally shy or introverted at times, know that you just need that one person, and you let them take you down that kind of candy road of just like picking up the breadcrumbs, and then get as many cards as you can and follow up after.
Yes.
But soon, within the week. So say like, give them time to recover from any con, and then say like, yeah, we met, blah, 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 follow them on Twitter. And so that's been the case for me, is like knowing not to demand too much of people right away, and then actually building the relationship from there.
Yeah. And follow up again if you don't get an answer right away.
Yeah.
We've all done it to someone at this point.
Me, frequently.
Yeah, also me.
So sometimes just a reminder
Be
is
nice
helpful.
about it, though.
You're also making that face because we have a joke like find an extrovert friend.
If you are introverted, so being introverted doesn't mean that you're not social, but sometimes that means you don't know how to extrovert. Like be social in the same way that an extrovert does. So if you find a friend and you just sit at their booth at all the cons and watch them do the thing, eventually some of it might start to rub off on you, and then you can do it a little bit better, which is basically all that I've done.
again, speaking from the extrovert side, when you have, like, I would much rather talk to people about cool things my friends are doing than cool things I'm doing. So it's a great, like, I love walking around with all of these people so I can be like, hey, have you actually met everyone here?
Yeah.
They're doing cool stuff too. And that, like, it's a really nice way to start a conversation without being like, hi, I'm so cool, please hear about my business. You can just, like, talk up your buddies.
If you walk around in a group, you can just wait until everyone talks about everyone else. And then somehow you don't need to talk about yourself, and it's not as weird.
Number one trick.
Please talk about yourself, though. Like, please promote yourself.
But also,
No,
you need to learn how.
There's like a switch.
You need to learn how to
Yeah.
promote
like a
yourself.
I was gonna ask, I guess, the group or pose this question, but Robyn kind of already answered it. That, you know, sometimes that voice in your head is so loud that you don't actually want to talk about yourself. Like, it's insurmountable almost to people, because people will ask me sometimes, like, how do you're talking about imposter syndrome, Jay was talking about this. How do you overcome that voice that's so strong that you're like, no one's ever going to care about what I have to say? How do you take that first step?
Jazzlyn helped me with that, I think, on our first San Diego panel.
How do you take that first step past something like that?
That was
for some people, it's
literally the
very
question I have written down for
insurmountable.
Robyn. No, this is a great thing, because
Energy.
how we met is Robyn, like, cold emailed me, and it turned into, that was years ago, and now we're like hang out every day.
Funny
and it's
enough.
great. But yeah, how do you, because you are an introvert, so it's not like you're just like, oh, it's easy, I talk to everyone all the time and it's no problem. So, like, for someone who is nervous.
So my introvertedness is more just that I feel very drained with social interaction. It's not that I can't do it. It's not that I don't enjoy it while it's happening. It's that sometimes if it's not like an intimate partner or friend, I have to be on. And I was a teacher, so I can do that. I was a dancer, so I can do that. But at the end of the day, sometimes it feels very draining. Find quality things to say, right? So, like, if you're going to use the energy, make sure that you're using it well, and make sure that you're being very intentional. And what I was going to say before is that Jazzlyn had said something in the past about the why me. Do you remember this, Jazzlyn?
I do not.
So you had said something along the lines of when you say why me, you can kind of change the tone of it and make it why not me. So it's like, well, why do they want me on this panel? I was like, but why not me? Like, I have something to say. I have something worth saying. So I have a voice. So why not me and, you know, the other people on the panel with me?
I do a lot of listening to the words that people use about me.
Oh man, that's my favorite tip.
That's good.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a great
that's very
tip.
Because I'm not good at talking about myself.
You can
but-
copy paste it online too.
Yeah, copy paste it online. No, but like I copy paste in real life too.
Yeah.
With speaking and talking, and how you introduce yourself or how someone else introduces you is often
Most
way
definitely.
better and more succinct than you could ever introduce yourself.
Yes.
And so I steal a lot of other people's words.
Most definitely.
Very nice words, very kind words. But I'm grateful for that because I don't think I could articulate it myself.
Yeah. I like this tip session. Does anyone else have, like, tips for?
I just went to
Go ahead. No, go.
I just went to an imposter syndrome like class about like overcoming imposter syndrome, and she said a lot, and it was great. But the one tip that I like literally use every morning is special delivery.
Thank you.
Thinking about for everyone. So.
Motion.
Just the Regine Fairy just came in and dropped off.
The one tip that she gave us was that she said, in your head, create a embodiment of your imposter syndrome, and then create an embodiment of your inner cheerleader. And so I will tell you mine as an act to be more vulnerable. So my inner imposter syndrome's name is Kyle, and he runs a YouTube channel where he critiques things, but he does not create his own stuff. And so he's always critiquing what I do, although he's not putting out any content on his own.
Okay.
His name's Kyle. He wears sweaty t-shirts and dirty baseball caps. And so every morning I say, flip you, Kyle. And if I like have something or I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I should be on this panel, I'm like, flip off, Kyle. So my inner cheerleader's name is Lilith, and she's like 6'2", and she still wears like 5-inch stilettos, and she's real cool. And so in the morning, I'm like, Lilith, give me strength. So from ever like about to do something, like this panel, for instance, and I'm outside and I'm like, ah, God, Kyle's really getting to me. I'm like, no, Lilith. I'm going with Lilith today. And then I go do the thing. So.
That was amazing.
Yeah. So the first time you told that story, I was just like crying. I'm like, oh God, this is so beautiful.
That was great.
Something else.
Can I? Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
I was
please,
like,
go ahead.
Okay. So I sometimes teach social media workshops to people who are like starting out. They're trying to build something. They're trying to build a business. And this is going to sound so simplistic, but I think people don't realize how much time and effort goes into making something or how you learn as a person, right? When you learn something, you think back to like we were talking about being in college or like how many years you've been in a career at a certain place. You look back and you go, wow, I've been doing this for X amount of time. I've actually gotten better. You look at your work a year in the past. You look at 2 years in the past. These things like reflection that you don't have to go up against someone else to do it. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's really true. Reflecting back on the things, your progress, how far you've come, just doing something every day goes such a long way. And that voice in your head, yeah, it's gonna try to stop you, but just do it. Like it may not reflect now, but it is probably gonna get you somewhere soon. You don't get better by doing nothing. You get better by trying. And it's really sad because I think failure is so poorly framed in our society, right? So the fact that like even if you're trying, yeah, it's actually great to keep learning your whole life. It's very healthy, and there's lots of social studies that tell us that if people are like that, they're more open and more critical thinkers, all these things. But just keep trying at those things, just keep learning, and finding where you belong is so important. People they struggle, but it's really true. And finding your community in that is also very important. Like if you go to a place that you're like, I'm gonna go take a class somewhere, you're gonna find other people that you can take that class with or learn, or that's a great way to just naturally find
It was like
community.
a room full of women crying, being like, this is what my imposter syndrome sounds like, and we hugged, and it was like amazing. It was like the best $10 I've ever spent.
I mean,
So I guess that would be like my little tip. Again, it sounds very simple, but it's something. It's something.
like to put that concretely, because I agree 100%. My first comic was god awful, and like I started going to cons and like selling them at smaller conventions, and I got like my first like write up on it, and they were like, the art is pretty good, but like the writing is like could do. And I was like, yeah, I could do better. But what was interesting is I was still getting the attention because people understood my intention. People understood that I had something to say and that I was taking action to put myself out there. And so just because, you don't come off the bat, making a Black Panther or making a Quentin Tarantino movie, like no one actually cares. People are just like, you just put out this thing, okay, it has some good and some bad, but like, what are you about? You're about something, and that always matters most. And I think that happens across any industry, across any speciality that you have.
I was actually going to piggyback off of it. So I run a monthly wellness event called Fangirl Health Club, and we meet for an hour and a half. We do a high-intensity workout that's themed. We celebrated Harry Potter's birthday at the last one, last Sunday. And the first one that I did was because the woman that ran in and then ran away runs Women in Comics. I went to Women in Comics, met someone from News 12, which is a local news network in New York City, and they said, we would love to see you in action with a class. And I was like, I do not have a class. In about 1 week, I got people together, like Erin, that many of the people know on this panel, and just did a class. And that was now 2 years ago. I did it in 1 week. News 12 showed up when it was over. I still haven't been on News 12. That's a little bit like, when the classes are better now, you guys can come back around. We had wands at the last one. I was like, come on. We've had lightsabers at our workouts. I'm like, you guys can come now.
That's much cooler.
But that's all to say, I put that entire event together. I only had private clients that I was mostly bartering with at the time, by the way. And I put that event together in about a week with just friends from the meetup group Geek Girl Brunch, and said, I know that you trust me. Will you come do this workout? There might be a camera. And they trusted me enough to show up and didn't have to be on camera anyway. And since then, it started every other month. And then the demand was higher, so I've made it every month. And it's been great, but I had to kind of not be great at it first and rush it. So I think there was advice given that was like, just do it. Just
That's
go
written
for
down
it.
here too. I love how we've been doing this like for a while, so I'm like, oh, I'm just writing down the things that are already going to happen. That's awesome. But that's always a huge piece of advice. Like you can have ideas and that's great, but until you do it, no one knows. Like your ideas are just in your head until they're out, and like I feel like that comes up every time because it's whatever that is for whoever. It's a huge part of it. I wanted to piggyback off of what Taylor was saying before. So community, like, it would be awesome if it was all sunshine and rainbows and just like easy and great. We all know that that's not actually the way it works. And one thing that is hard is when you see a community or you see a group of people or you see a group of like businesses or friends or whatever, and you just like want to be a part of it and you're not yet. And like all of us either have had that before or do now. And I don't think that ever goes away, but what can you actually do in those situations? Because like you can't just sit and cry about it and like that's fine, but that's not helpful. So like what are your tips for like changing that? Or it doesn't also always work, but you can try things. Anyway.
So you're asking how to like be a part?
Yeah, so you're like, I want to be friends with those people. Like what are your like tips to start edging that way?
If you're not in the same physical space as them, social media is great. Comment, like, share. I had a few people who are not here and shared the stretch post that I said I was going to share a stretch here, and they shared it in their stories, and we were just like, you all should go to the panel if you're there, but if you're not there, this stretch is really good. That means a lot to me. I thank every single person who does that. So those kinds of things, if you just want to, because then the person will see you at a con and be like, I don't know your real name. I might not know your face because your picture is this big on Instagram, but I feel like there's something here, and that's a way that you can sometimes get a foot in the door with people.
I do a lot of, hi, I follow you on Instagram.
That too.
You don't know who I am, but I know who you are.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a key part of that is like actually following on Instagram too. Like it's funny how many times it's like you saying you're a fan goes so much further when you've done a thing that shows that you're a fan, whatever it is, buying from them. Like one of my favorite tips is if there's someone I want to meet in Artist Alley or at a booth, if they have things that are like affordable and everything's not $300, it's so much easier to say like, hi, I really like you, and here's money for this thing you do, not just like, hi, I like you, and
$5
cool,
prints
good luck
are
with
my
your life,
favorite.
you know?
5x7s. Oh, love them.
Most definitely. And then find meetup groups. Like if you are unfamiliar, Geek Girl Brunch is something that's been mentioned multiple times now. It started as a very small meetup group of 3 women who were friends and started having brunch and then said, why don't we invite other people? And they put it on meetup.com. I was at like the 3rd one at the time, and it already started having a waiting list. I emailed them and was like, can I come to your Marvel brunch? And then now it's international. There are meetup groups all over the world that are called Geek Girl Brunch, and there are a lot of members in the room that are not a part of the New York City group, but I recognize because we're a part of that meetup group in other parts of the country and the world.
So like to kind of go off of that, it's not just about how can I get in, it's understanding that everyone has that same question, and maybe what you can do is bring people to you. Just understand that like if there's a need you need filled, that there are people who feel the exact same way, and like use that as insight and act on that. And then you
I just gave that advice recently. Someone was like, I want to be on more panels. I was like, you should make your own then. Like literally that is how to do a panel that you want to be on. It's great.
Yeah, just email who you want to invite and apply to whichever con you want.
I would also say like, don't just like go up to some person and be like, hey, I would like you to help me like become a famous person, or like be like, hello, make my career for me, because then they'll just be like,
will you do a subscription box for this?
Oh god.
So I don't have to?
So dig inside yourself, be like, what can I bring to the table? Go up and be like, hey, I'm blah blah blah, I follow you on blah blah blah, I really liked this post. I'm trying to start this company. This has actually happened to me a couple times this con, which is really sweet. And I love talking to these people because I love, and I'm sure all of you, like, do you want to talk to somebody who's like, I like stuff, I don't know? Or do you want to talk to somebody who's like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm starting, I'm really excited, this is what I think it's going to go well? Yeah, like, of course you want to talk to B, right? Like, so go to somebody, like, that's the best part of entrepreneurs, it's the best part of artists, right? Is that they get so pumped about what they're doing and it's infectious. And so, like, let your excitement about your company, your project, whatever it may be, like, infect them, and then they're gonna want to help you because, like, deep down, people like to help each other, like, achieve their dreams. So
I would say cast your net wide. So we've got this sort of idea that, like, generationally, this is becoming more common that people have so many different interests and you can do all these different things, right? There used to be this idea that, no, you're stuck in one thing, you can only do this one thing.
Nerd.
Right, yeah. So that's not true, but I think people realize that, you know, everyone has so many interests. That one thing that you might not have thought, like, okay, I have a talent to do art, and, you know, I also have a talent in doing writing. Maybe the thing you thought you were going to go into is, like, actually not the thing, just like we were all talking about our careers and things like that. Cast your net wide and see what works for you. It's not bad to explore all the different avenues that you have open to you. And I think people forget that sometimes because it is a lot of time, effort. Like, if like Robyn was saying, if you are an introvert, like, you get tired because you're talking to a lot of people, it may take some more time to find those communities, but online is good. You know, just trying things out all the time is great. You're gonna find something that you fit into.
And what you both just said reminded me that, like, sometimes even if you are a more introverted person who has trouble speaking to people, if you find the thing that you are passionate about, it becomes so much easier. Like, it's a world easier to speak about something that you are fired up about. And because if it turns you on, right? Like, anything that turns you on will give you that adrenaline rush, and you might not even realize that you're nervous. Afterwards, you might sit down and go, oh, all right, I did that. I spoke to the person that I didn't think knew I existed for an hour at BookCon, and it was great.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah.
But I find that if you really feel passionate about what you are doing, that can carry you a long way.
One of my other favorite tips is, like, if you have something to offer, that's such a great way to start a conversation. So, like, if you have, like, a social media following and you share someone's thing, that's amazing. Or, like, half the reason we have a magazine and podcast is so that I can ask people who I want to talk to with a reason, like, I will interview you and post it. I will, like, put you on the front of my magazine instead of just being like, I want to be your friend. Yeah. Do you want to be my friend too? So having a way that, like, having an avenue to do that is really helpful.
Yeah, and I've started on my Instagram. I was speaking to Jordan about this, who has Sartorial Geek, and I said, I don't have the capacity to build out this whole other brand, but I would really love to get in touch with other people who are doing wellness work that is targeting geeks and nerds and all of those things, but I don't know how to share that. I don't know how to go about that with what I am able to do right now. So I just made an Instagram story, and it's called Geeks and Wellness. And it's really just, I keep posting every time someone shares with me someone else who's a trainer, or there are some physical therapists that recently started a business that's targeting geeky people. I want to share those people as well because, one, I can't be everywhere all the time. Two, I'm not everybody's teacher, and that kind of goes for anything, right? Like, any business is not everyone's thing. So the more that you can support the folks that are doing something similar to you, the better it is for everybody.
Yeah. That's actually why we started the Sartorial Geek, because I was like, I want an avenue or a way to, like, share cool things that are happening. Are we done in 5 minutes or 15 minutes? Okay. I was going to do a Q&A. I just realized I didn't actually know what time this ended. So since 5 minutes isn't really enough time, I have one last question for you guys. Where is it? Oh, this question is, so, like, if you want people to contact you, like, if you want people to either, like, want to work with you, or if you're looking for other partners and things, there are ways to, like, look more accessible than than not. And I feel like you all have done really good, like you all have tips and strategies for like looking approachable or accessible. And I was wondering if you could share.
Do you mean in terms with like our audience or in terms of networking?
Anything. Like, I mean, you know, if your social media is private, that is a very hard way for people. Like those types of like small things to just like be open to even being reached out to.
Are we just going down the line?
Whatever you want.
Yeah, let's start with Taylor.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I don't care. I would say, I'm super open. Like, I'm very extroverted. So if people approach me, even if they're super weird, I'm like, sure, we'll talk to each other. I also encounter a lot of different people in my life, like people who have been like in fandom for a long time, and then like, you know, super little kids. So it's like a whole spectrum because I work, you know, like Rose does, booths at conventions, we sell. I encounter a lot of customers and stuff like that. I would say just, be socially, like, open to all social media. Know what social media niches your audience is in. So that's another tip, I guess, for, you know, if you're trying to build a online audience with, you know, a following. Sometimes you're following, like a lot of people's following is now on Instagram because businesses are really creative based and that's going to be what it is. It's visual. There's a lot of good ways you can message each other easily, but also accept that there are still some communities that have different demographics. So they might not be there. They might be on Twitter. They might be on LinkedIn even. That's a thing still. Yeah. People are like, really? Yeah. And obviously Facebook. Just be open to where, like really think about where's my audience? Where can I engage with them? Engagement is key. And really like talk, explore, be open. Never close yourself. Never close yourself to an avenue. That would be the one tip I would ever say to somebody. Like always really think about like, oh, I'm noticing this. Well, let me try it.
When I'm at BarCon, or like at an event and I'm talking to somebody in a group, it's really easy to like circle up and get closed off, and then someone will kind of come up to the group and they'll be like trying to find a way in. I'll just step aside and be like, hey, join. And I've made so many friends by doing that one gesture because like I know what it feels like to be like, oh, hey guys, I'm just gonna squeeze in. Nope, okay, I'm gonna squeeze. Nope, okay, I'm gonna get a drink of water. It's what I actually wanted.
Does anyone have any last things before we?
Ask questions of your audience on social media. I find that that's very useful because and don't fake it. They will know if you're just like only replying in emojis or things like that. If it might have a better answer for than just an emoji. In your Instagram stories, you can ask questions of your audience. They have the poll option now, which can be super useful. And you can do like not just the highlights, but you can make posts that asks other people to share certain accounts with you. So I did that on Juneteenth. I did that for Black History Month in order to share Black-owned businesses that weren't only wellness focused that maybe I didn't even know about. So now my community is adding to this list and I can refer people to this post to find other people.
Cool. We are like basically out of time, but so the socials and websites and stuff have been up here, but some of you are on the floor this weekend or doing like super cool projects. Will you just say like one last goodbye, where to find you, or we're here or online or whatever, whatever you want.
So tomorrow I have a ticketed event called Fangirl Walking Club, which is a donation-based walking group I do in New York, and we're just doing a little bit of a walk here. And then on Sunday, I am on the How to Be a Nerd for a Living panel at 11 a.m. I believe it is in this room as well.
It is.
I'm downstairs, which is why I haven't been walking the floor. Booth 4539. It's under cinequest.com. It's actually my dad's small business. He is graciously allowing me to share half his booth this year. So 4539, we've got supernatural stuff and charm stuff and me pretty much there the rest of the weekend. I don't think I'm getting out much, so please come say hi to me. Bring me water.
Help me.
I'm walking around the floor right now, but I actually have a Kickstarter that's live right now that only has 1 week left. So if you want in on this beautiful poster that was made by Paulina Gunnisher? Gonna share.
There's also an exclusive
She's incredible.
Jordandené shirt that you can only
come
get
up
through
here
Chase
after we
Kickstarter.
end, grab one of these, and MagicHourTV.com has a link to the Kickstarter if you want to check it out. The trailer stars India Moore from Pose, who plays Angel. And if you like The Twilight Zone or Black Mirror, but you were like, why isn't it black enough or queer enough or women enough or something enough, then check this out. Yeah.
At Jazzlyn Stone on all things. I'm not on Facebook. Instagram, Twitter are lit.
And you're on the panel. Also
On Sunday, I am on
Same panel.
in this room, 11 a.m. It's going to be really good. Please come.
You can find me at, first of all, the first 3 people. I'm going to tell you my Instagram handle for my business that makes nerdy stuff, but the first 3 people that follow me right now on Instagram and come up and show me, I have 3 pins for you guys, freebies.
They're like big pins.
Yeah, they're big. They look like this. They're like Star Wars and one that says Head Fangirl.
I'm stealing that idea.
And that's it. And my Instagram handle is at LoganArch, ARCH, Chicago, like the city. That's my small business. And you can find me at They Seek Her There, like the Scarlet Pimpernel, the little poem that's in the Scarlet Pimpernel. Yeah. I'm that nerd. And I do freelance work, so I love collaborating with convention planning. If you guys are like any kind of convention planning, I have 6 years experience in that, and I love hearing new ideas and working with other people.
Yeah, and we maybe recorded this, and if we did, then it'll be at the Sartorial Geek, so you can find that there. And also, we have free magazines that we're giving away at Rose's booth, which is ?
4539.
Yeah.
Right across from
WB
Warner
at
Brothers.
the end of the 4500 aisle. Thank you all so much for coming. This has been very cool. Have a really good rest of your
Thank
weekend.
you so much.
Okay, who's my people? Who's my people?
Come get these.
Come get my things.
Time to get stuff.
I also have
Thank you.
Bad Bitch Club
Okay.
stickers if anybody would like to join my Bad Bitch
Come
Club.
choose